Hey there, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt Wyatt, and today I'm going to review this new film, a music biopic movie called Michael. It's a Michael Jackson biopic movie. It's directed by Antoine Fuqua, which you may have known him. He directed Training Day, and he directed the Equalizer trilogy, and he's been attached to direct this biopic movie about Michael Jackson that is telling the story about his early young days as a kid who was part of the Jackson 5 that became famous, and then one day grew up to become one of the visionary artists and entertainer and was known as the king of pop, and his songs have become very timeless, sensational, that changes the world. And yeah, when I've heard about what they're going to do a biopic movie about Michael, I was not so surprised that they were going to do this eventually because it was only a matter of when. I mean, there were a few times when other studios tried to do a biopic about Michael Jackson, and my first discovery with Michael Jackson was surprisingly was the first two movie Rush Hour films. The first two movies. That was Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan, because Chris Tucker had a closing relationship with Prince and then Michael Jackson back in the day, and Chris Tucker did a music video with Michael Jackson one time, and he definitely acknowledges him in the movie, especially in Rush Hour 2. That was heavily on Michael Jackson at the time, and I only discovered him in the early 2000s when he had skin had changes, his transformation had changes, and he had to face a lot of allegations of being accused of a child predator, which it was a very tough time in the early 2000s, especially for Michael Jackson. Now, I don't know this for a fact. I don't know if he actually did those things. There's some people out there believe that he actually didn't, but I'm not going to really get into it too much. But all I know is that I did discover a lot of his music, like Beat It, Thriller, Smooth Criminal, or the song called Billie Jean. I mean, one of these big, even the Jackson 5 called ABC, which is the songs are timeless that still gets played today. His songs and his like vision really changed the world and inspired a lot of people, and it really touched on the world back in the early days, back from the late 60s, the 70s, 80s, and 90s. He was on top of the world. He was the greatest entertainer of all time. You to see him perform in a concert, he really brought the crowd emotionally. And when I've heard about them, they were gonna do a biopic, like I said, I was not surprised by it. And when I heard that Jaafar Jackson was gonna portray his uncle in the movie, I was like, "Wow, interesting." When I've heard that he was gonna portray his uncle, I was a little bit concerned. Like, can he really act? We know that I've heard that Jaafar Jackson has done some music, but he's never done acting before, and he talked about it in an interview when he was doing press for this movie, and and they approached him and saying, "Hey, would you want to come in and play the character?" And he had needed time to think about it. But I will say, seeing his performance as Michael Jackson, I think he knew the assignment. He definitely transformed into his uncle. And when I watched the scene in context of him transforming as Michael Jackson, I feel like we're seeing a reincarnated Michael Jackson. I feel like I saw him as that person, as that character. I never saw him as Jafar Jackson. He was actually Michael when he transformed into that character, and I thought he did the whole posture, his voice, and how he speaks, and his in his movements and his dance move. And they actually hired the dance choreographer who actually toured with Michael Jackson, and they were the right people for the job, and he took and Javar Jackson really took it very seriously, and I thought he really nailed it. Now, I'm not ready to say that he's gonna be a big star. I'm not ready to say that. All I can say is that he really stayed true to Michael Jackson, and he nailed it 100%. He was definitely Michael Jackson in that movie when he played him, and I thought he did a great job. The importance of his music was great. I love how they touch on a lot of the stuff, especially, one of my favorite moments in the movie was, the song called "Beat It." When he was going in a the town in California when he was, hiring a bunch of gang members, and they hired him to be in the music video called "Beat It," and it was all about bringing the people together and push away for these rival gangs who are divided and actually bring them all together, and that's what that's what the song was called, "Beat It," for a reason. And I've recently watched that music video, and I thought that was really touching. It and I love how they did the recreation of the music video Thriller. I thought they were very accurate and very on point, because if you watch that music video, it's really more accurate to how they did the choreography in that music video, in which that was directed by John Landis, who did the directing of the music video of Thriller, which was basically a short film of a monster movie, and I thought that was fantastic. And I thought that Domingo playing Joe Jackson, who's playing the father of Michael Jackson, I think he did a great job in his performance, but the problem is I felt like his character felt one note. Now, his character, Michael Jackson's father, was very verbally and physically abusive during his early days as a child, and he tried to push him and so of his brothers to try to be the best as they can be, to be mute, to be stars. And Michael Jackson was stripped away from his childhood. He never had any friends. The only closest friends he had was his brothers and a couple of his sisters and his mother and his animals, and especially Bubbles, the monkey. And when the monkey shows up, it was a little cringy that the monkey was a little CGI. I wish they would have had a real life monkey. I think that would have added better. But there were a few cute moments between Bubbles and Michael Jackson, but I feel like they could have done better with it. And I wish that the Jackson brothers kind of had a little bit more development. I felt like the characters felt very one note. I feel like we didn't dive enough in their relationship with his brothers, especially the whole family. And yeah, I know that Joe Jackson was a piece of shit in the beginning and in the end. I mean, there could have been moments that they could have added his humanity to the character, but I don't know his father in real life. I don't know who he was and how he was to his son, but I only know that he was physically and verbally abusive to his own son, and it was really tough on him in his childhood. And he was a child that had to grow up so quickly, especially being in the music business. But I still wish they would have added the biography a little bit more. I feel like they should have added more depth. And I found out that they had to go through 20 days of reshoots of this movie because they definitely touch on the allegations against Michael Jackson, and legally they had to go back and try to reshot that and try to cut some portions out of that movie. And and they recently did confirm that they're gonna do another Michael Jackson sequel that is a sequel to this movie, and that this is basically the first half of the film. Now, the music stuff that he did was the strength of the movie. Performances for Jafar Jackson, I thought he did great, but the weaknesses, I feel like the biography could have been handled a little bit better. I wish they could have dived in a little bit more, and one thing that they left out of that film is that they left out Janet Jackson, who was the youngest, sister in real life. She became famous of her own, but and I believe that her and Michael Jackson had a closing relationship between the two of them. And and I've heard that Janet Jackson said that they want to take her character out of the film, that she doesn't want her character to be betrayed in the movie, which I don't understand why, because I feel like it would have added a lot more gravitas between the two of them. And one of the strings that I liked Neil Long's performance as Katherine Jackson, who's the mother of Michael Jackson. I thought she was one of the best parts of the movie. I thought she had great moments between her and her son in the film. I thought that it was one of the strengths. And guess what? Mike Myers makes a cameo in the movie. This is the second time he's made a cameo in the movie since Bohemian Rhapsody. Remember that movie? Which I don't care what anybody else says. I thought Bohemian Rhapsody was a really good biopic movie, in my opinion. But you could tell that there were some shots that felt like it was done in reshoots. Miles Teller, who was playing, I think that he's supposed to be playing the manager of Michael Jackson that helps push his career into becoming a soul artist. I thought he was really good, but at the same time, he felt very one note. I feel like they could have dived into a little development of his character a little bit more. But I thought that Michael Jackson's bodyguard was one of the best parts of the movie, that I thought that was part of the strengths that helped him pushing into becoming his own independent, because it was really, the movie just revolves around Michael Jackson to try to push out of his family's legacy and their shadow, especially his father, and actually become his own independent and follow his own path to do what he wants to do and reinvent himself. And I thought that that was really one of the best parts of the movie. Oh, some of my favorite moments in the movie that I really liked, especially when we see Michael visiting sick children in the hospital and try to give them a positive message and try to help them out. And I thought that that was a good scene. And they do touch on his accident when he was performing that whole music Pepsi commercial, and he got caught on fire, and they show that in the context. And I thought that was well executed, and it was a very tough to watch. And I thought that scene was really well done. And him seeing a lot of the burnt victims for children is very heartbreaking for him from his end, and he wants to do more than just doing music. He wants to help a lot of children and donate, and I thought that that was one of the strengths of the movie that I really enjoyed. Sure, there's some important moments in the movie that worked, but I feel like it was cut a little bit too short, and they don't really touch on it enough, if that makes any sense. And it doesn't really come back to it. I don't know, but that's just one of the things I wish they could have done more. But I thought those are one of the strengths of the movie that I actually thought it worked for the most part. Overall, I will say that this is not one of the best biopic movies, but I will say that if you're a fan of Michael Jackson's music and you wanna see, the tribute to his music and his legacy and seeing his greatest hits being played in context, this is gonna be for you. I saw this with a crowded in IMAX, and it was great. It was entertaining. I was right in it. I feel like I was taken back in time in somewhere in time in the 70s and 80s. I thought they were really good. But the problem is that if you're going into this expecting this to be a hard biopic, a biography that delves within his life and his relationship to his family, you're gonna be disappointed because it felt very like one note. If it wasn't as well executed, I feel like they could have done a little bit more. I already know that they were never going to touch on the allegations against him because by the time you get to the end of the movie, I mean, this is not really a spoiler. You already know where his story's going. But by the time you get to the end of the film, when he's finally doing his own solo tour and he's performing the song called "Bad," and I believe he performed Billie Jean too. I think that might have been before or after. I can't remember. But by the time he plays that, that's where the movie ends, and it says the story continues. Which basically they left it on the cliffhanger and they recently confirmed that they're going to do another one. And so basically, you're going to see the second half of his story continue on, probably through the 90s and early 2000s. And I think that they might touch on the allegations now this time around. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, and I believe that they're supposed to start shooting in around sometime in the fall. And there's no confirmation that Anton Fuqua will return to direct. I mean, there is a possibility that he could, but right now the movie's tracking a good amount of money at the box office. It's made over 400 million worldwide so far, and we're near this end of the second weekend. Especially they're coming up against The Devil Wears Prada 2, which that's going to be the number one spot for sure. That's a guarantee. I mean, there's no surprise that because it's a Devil Wears Prada, more people are going to go out to see it. But I will say that I still recommend this movie. I think the positives outweigh the negatives. I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. Now, what did you think of this movie, Michael? Have you seen it? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and please be respectful and be civilized. But anyway, that's my thoughts on the movie. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this review, make sure you give it a thumbs up, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers. Help me get there. I would really appreciate you guys supporting my channel. It really means a lot. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel and you don't know, I have a second YouTube channel called Small Zero. I co-host alongside with Ryan Cam and 3D Jake. We cover everything in the world that's going around in the movies, TV shows, movie trailers, and so on and so forth. We had a few major guests on our show. I thought it was a fun time, and we're going to continue to do more, and we're going to continue to bring on more guests to keep the show flowing. And that's about it. Go and go to that channel and go and subscribe there. I will put the link in the description down below so that you guys can go find it. And if you want to follow my social media platforms like TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, click the link tree in the description down below as well. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great day, great evening, wherever you're from, and stay tuned for more of my content.